Hello and welcome to the Gay Chatter podcast. My name's Caleb and today I'm joined by Woolridge. Hi Dai.
How you doing, Caleb? Great to be here.
Just to start with, do you want to just introduce yourself to people?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Dais Woolridge. I'm Welsh. You might have realised that. I'm a poet, a spoken word artist. I'm a storyteller. Essentially, I just love using words to creatively communicate the gospel. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
You've said you're a spoken word artist. How would you get to be a spoken word artist then? Tell me a bit about your story then.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I knew what spoken word artist meant a few years ago, to be honest. But yeah, basically, I've always kind of really enjoyed creativity. I did a drama degree in university. I was kind of first up doing the drama sketches in church when I was growing up in youth, and just loved creativity, expressing myself, and I think it kind of evolved when I did a year out at Glenwood Church. I did an internship there and just really kind of fell in love with the ability to kind of use words creatively and effectively to kind of communicate gospel truths, biblical themes, in a way that is kind of poignant, profound, challenging, funny, highly creative. And I think the kind of heart and the hunger just kind of grew from there, really. So when I went to uni and did sort of drama as a degree, I think it was me then kind of learning my craft. And then when I came out, I did sort of more acting probably. But then I kind of had the opportunity to maybe write a poem for a carol service. And I think it just kind of grew from there. And then the first sort of spoken word thing, I think spoken word, essentially, it's kind of performance poetry. That's kind of how I see it, really. And so I was doing it before I knew what it was. But the first spoken word film I did was called Christmas Chord in 2012 now. So crumbs, nearly 10 years ago, which is very scary. But yeah, I kind of had the question, what would it look like if I rhymed the nativity story and filmed it to camera, and that's kind of what came up, and you kind of put it out there on socials, and churches just really engaged with it. And I think when I saw how churches engage with it, I thought, okay, this is a medium that works.
So you're a Christian, obviously. How did that kind of come about then?
I grew up in church, really, so I was really fortunate to go to church from a young age. My mother went to church from when I was about 4 years old. So I kind of just grew up in this environment, was very fortunate, had some really good friends who kind of grew up in the church as well. And we kind of just went through the phases of life together. And when I was about 12 years old, all my other friends in church went off to this kind of camp and came back and they said, oh, we're Christian, we got this relationship with Jesus. And I was like, I thought we were already Christians. And they were saying, no, we're not, it's about having this relationship and making a choice. And I was like, I don't even know what you mean. And to be honest with you, I kind of, in a funny way, I kind of fell into being a Christian because I had four more. So I was like, fear of missing out with my friends. I asked my youth leader if I could be a Christian, and he said, is that because your friends have just become Christians on a camp you can go to? And I said, no, it's got absolutely nothing to do with that. When in fact, of course, it had. And the rest is history. So I think my relationship with Jesus is more significant than anything in terms of my life, my heart, what gets me up in the morning, and I think using creativity and my spoken word and my storytelling, my poetry, it's great, but it's just a vehicle for me to communicate what is the best story that's changed my life, So so it's huge.
Now let's move forwards a bit in time. So you mentioned the whole Christmas chord thing. So you started something called Spoken Truth, I want to say 2012, 2013, I think.
Yeah.
With that kind of Christmas car park video. Tell me a bit about Spoken Truth.
So Christmas Chord was the kind of was the birth of Spoken Truth, really. I think it was just after seeing the response to that film and how it was used in kind of carol services up and down the country, was just incredibly humbling. And I think from there it was kind of like a kind of light bulb moment of this could be a way that churches could help share the story, to accompany their sermon, or maybe it's just something that's shown in a school assembly or whatever. But it kind of felt like that model, a kind of 3 to 4 minute, highly engaging film that's shot well, that's written as well as I could write it and deliver it, and it could just be kind of used digitally. It could be shared, socially online, but also downloaded. So it kind of just came from Christmas Chord. And I think from there, I wanted to build a catalogue of Christmas films first, that similarly retold, repackaged the timeless truth of the Christmas story just in a new way. And I wanted to build a catalogue of resources for the church, and also for schools to be able to reshare the message. So that's kind of where it came from. It's ultimately spoken truth because it's gospel truth through the medium of spoken word, and film to camera, essentially. And it's something that hopefully engages people in a different way.
You've made some really fantastic spoken words as part of that. I've probably got a couple of favourites. One of them would be the Christmas Chord one originally. I actually still think that was a really good one. And the other one I particularly loved was Mess, where you were filming on a farm, and that was really engaging too. So how do you go about, let's talk about some of the specifics. How do you go about writing that kind of thing? How do you go about planning that?
I like to kind of just re-look at the Christmas story and think, how can I package this in a way that is simple yet creative? And I kind of came up with Messiah fairly early on. And I was like, oh, great, I've got a spoken word piece here. This makes sense in terms of the story. And ultimately wanted to unpack that Jesus is the Messiah who was born in the mess. I was like, this is great. I thought it's been a good day coming up with this idea. But I was kind of tearing my hair out, to be honest with you, for a few weeks after, going, but what does it look like? How do you write it? And how do you kind of integrate everything in? So I think it is a bit of a creative process. It is the journey, and I think a lot of it is just trying to explore, just trying to kind of come up with creative ideas, and then when you've got them, trying to capture the kind of what the nub is that makes that just kind of stand out, really. And then it's just about trying to kind of craft around that. So the creative process, it's kind of as long as a piece of string. So I hope that makes sense. But it can come from a piece of wordplay like that. My last one, 12 Days of Christmas, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do a parody, kind of given, this new world we were now living in on Zoom, and maybe kind of poking fun at myself and other churches trying to do church online with a Zoom. So it's kind of, it's wordplay, but it's also trying to be responsive to the cultural moment.
I love the 12 Days of Christmas. I think it was one of those really creative things where, it's worth saying to anyone listening, we're having this conversation over Zoom, actually. And, it's the kind of thing of, oh, you're on mute, the lag behind everything. So, it's fantastic. And so you've got your creative process. Your wife's quite creative too, isn't she? How's she helped with that then?
Oh, definitely. I think, yeah, we really kind of we kind of rub off one another. We're both very creative, but we're both very different in that as well. So Kath trained as an actor. She's actually got a role on Gavin and Stacey, which is which is amazing. But her kind of thing now is she's a worship leader, she's a songwriter, and she's a creative storyteller as well. And I think she's just a really helpful person to, just throw ideas past, and we kind of work that through together then. But yeah, it's always helpful having someone that you trust, but who's also going to be honest with you. Someone who you know is going to be kind but honest.
And so you've made loads of videos. So what's your favourite of all of the videos you've made then?
Oh, crumbs. That's a question. Wait, it's funny you said Christmas Chord was one of yours. I think a lot of people would say Christmas Chord. And I think it is special because I think it was what kind of birthed Spoken Truth, really, and this new format for me of storytelling. The kind of the emphasis of the spoken word and the fusion between that and it being filmed at a decent production level. So yeah, I think Chord would have to be one of them, but I think 11:35 is quite special to me, and that was kind of done for remembrance. And yeah, again, it kind of just came from one verse, Jesus wept, and for me, it's had a big impact on me personally in my faith, in my journey through grief, losing my dad. And I think it just speaks a really real profound message of hope, of the character and nature of God. Seeing that Jesus weeps when we weep was huge for me. And I think I wanted to kind of capture that for remembrance for the centenary anniversary, I think it was, of the beginning of World War One. And yeah, I think that's been really profound for people as well. And I think if you can get a message that connects with the church and culture, I think that's the kind of sweet spot. And I think that video kind of did that in a way. So yeah, I think that would probably be at 11:35, I think. But yeah, great question.
So obviously everyone's been impacted by COVID this year. It's skewed everything we're doing. Everyone's been working from home. People have been working on entirely different projects to the things they were expecting to work on about 12, 18 months ago. So what have you spent the last year doing? What kind of projects have you worked on over the last year?
I've been growing tomato plants, Caleb. I've been growing 27 tomato plants. I've had varying success of DIY projects as well. Some good, some not so good. But yeah, I think you're right. It has been a totally new world, isn't it? I think, yeah, in terms of projects, I've been very blessed. I've got this new book out called God's Brilliantly Big Creation Story, which is a spoken word book about the creation story for children. So it's been a real blessing getting that out. But yeah, I think so. It's just been a really interesting one. I think it's been difficult not doing as many gigs and many live things as I would have liked to have done. I think I've really missed that. I've noticed that I could have feed off an audience and just really enjoy taking people on a journey and sharing Jesus that way. But it has given more opportunity to be creative with my wife, to collaborate together. So we've kind of done spoken word and songs together. I've had the opportunity to do more videos, and I've written this book as well. So yeah, there's been lots of good that's come out of it, even if it was a little bit different to what we were expecting.
Looking to the future then, I guess there's two parts to this question. The first is, what have you got coming up at the moment? And then the second part to it, playing off your creativity for a second, If you've got one project you really want to work on in the future, you know, one idea of something you'd love to do down the line a bit, what would that be then?
Great questions. Okay, so first, so in terms of what I'm working on now, so I'm doing a bunch of stuff with Bible Society. I'm currently looking at my Christmas film. So I'll be letting you guys know about that in due course. But I'm trying to kind of get my head around that before the summer holidays to come up with some kind of creative concept. And I'll be working on that kind of in September as well. So that's kind of one of the things I'm working on. I'm also thinking about Easter 2022, and what I can do for that. I've obviously just written this new book. Another passion is just kind of creating a resource around that, you know, churches and schools can use. It's not just a book, but that they can kind of unpack the core themes as well. So kind of looking and exploring those things at the minute. And in terms of future thing, what I'd like to work on, I think I'd love to kind of do a Hamilton-esque spoken word musical. I think that would be something that would be really cool. Or like a feature film or something small, you know, something really manageable and easy to do.
He says, then compares it to Hamilton. No.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Definite sarcasm in the voice there, if everyone picked up.
Yeah, love it. No worries. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to have a conversation. I'd really encourage anyone listening to have a look. We will have links all over this video, and then also underneath the comments. So feel free to have a look at Dais socials down below. And I'd also really encourage you, if you want to watch any of the videos, you can either go on Spoken Truth or the Bible Society, or you can go to www.gochattervideos.com, where you can watch and download and play them in your church service. So it's really worth doing that. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen, and hopefully we'll see you soon at another one.